The Varnok scout's body dropped without a sound. Sergeant Kael Rourke lowered his knife, its edge glinting faintly before vanishing into the sheath strapped across his chest. The adaptive camouflage woven into his suit flickered, mimicking the moss-covered bark behind him. Seconds later, he was gone again, part of the jungle. 3 down, whispered Reyes in Kael's earpiece, his voice barely audible beneath the layered static encryption. Kael nodded, even though no one could see it. 2 to go. Wait for the rear patrol to separate. We don't want noise. 20 meters ahead, the remaining Varnok soldiers stomped through the undergrowth, scanning the treeline with thermal vision masks, useless here. The suits Kael's team wore absorbed heat signatures, distorted edges, and blended perfectly into the dense, alien foliage. It wasn't magic. It was evolution. Just not theirs. A soft click from his left signaled Griggs had a bead on the last patrolman. Another second. The 2 Varnok split to check opposite flanks. Kael flicked 2 fingers forward. Griggs and Reyes moved in unison, shadows with intent. A gurgle. A thump. Silence again. Kael stepped over a root the size of a tree trunk, approaching the corpses. He crouched near one, examining the notched armor on its shoulder. Clan Kurth, he muttered. Zarlin's dogs? Reyes asked, appearing at his side. Kael gave a grim nod. Yeah. And they're not here by accident. He tapped his wrist pad, pulling up the tactical map. A faint blip flashed to the west, pulse signature from a relay beacon. If the Varnok had this deep a patrol perimeter, the structure had to be close. That beacon was their eyes in orbit. If Earth's fleet arrived and the relay was still online, they'd be torn apart before they could land. Targets 30 clicks. Dense cover the whole way, but they've got patrols every 5. Kael scanned the treetops. They're afraid. Of us? Griggs snorted. Good. Kael's eyes narrowed. No. Of something they don't understand. That's worse. 2 hours earlier, the squad had touched down in silence. The insertion pod sank into the canopy without fanfare, cushioned by silenced repulsors and wrapped in reflective mesh. Kael and his 4-man team had emerged like smoke, dispersing into the greenery. No chatter. No footprints. Just breathing, controlled and quiet. Novo Gaia was beautiful in a predatory kind of way, thick vines coiling like serpents, trees with bark that pulsed softly under touch, air heavy with pollen and moisture. Perfect for camouflage. Perfect for ghosts. Kael had picked his team personally: Reyes, infiltration; Griggs, sniper and close recon; Silva, comms and tech; and Ortiz, heavy support. Each of them had trained under him back on Mars, where deserts taught stillness and patience. But the jungle? This was his terrain. His scars proved it. 10 clicks east, then circle back to the ridge, Kael had ordered as they moved through the underbrush. We find the relay, mark the patrols, confirm transmission range. No hero plays. Copy that, Silva had said. Jamming net active. They won't hear us coming. That was the plan. But plans didn't matter once the Varnok realized something was hunting them. Back at the patrol site, Kael crouched beside Reyes as they watched the brush shift in the distance. Another Varnok unit was inbound. Larger this time. Maybe a dozen. They're tightening the perimeter, Reyes said. Fast. Means the relay's close. And Zarlin knows we're here. Reyes glanced sideways. You think he knows it's you? I hope not, Kael muttered. I'd prefer the element of surprise. The Varnok had fought dozens of species across hundreds of systems. They won through sheer force. But they didn't understand the human obsession with asymmetry, with winning without being seen. On Earth, Kael had studied guerrilla wars from centuries past: Viet Cong, resistance fighters, insurgents. Masters of terrain, misdirection, and patience. Those lessons were written into his bones now. He didn't need to overpower the enemy. He just needed them to doubt. Doubt their senses. Doubt their safety. doubt their supremacy. Pull back, Kael ordered. We let this patrol pass. No engagements unless spotted. They melted away from the site, silent and swift. Kael left a faint trail of motion-triggered sonic mines behind, barely audible clicks that mimicked predator cries from native fauna. Not meant to kill. Just confuse. Scatter. Frighten. 10 minutes later, they regrouped at a high ridge, looking down into a clearing. In the middle sat the relay, 3 stories tall, black metal humming with energy, surrounded by sensor arrays and 4 turret drones that hovered in lazy orbit. Ortiz let out a low whistle. Well guarded. Not for long, Kael said. Silva, get me a drone scan. I want thermal mapping, guard rotations, and satellite uplink bandwidth. We find a window, we cut it. Silva was already working. Give me 10. Maybe 8. Kael scanned the area again. Varnok infantry patrolled in triangles, always within line of sight of each other. Efficient but rigid. Predictable. We'll exploit their discipline, he said. They watch each other's backs so tightly, they forget to watch the jungle. Reyes smirked. Let the trees eat him. Kael didn't smile. We're not soldiers here. Not anymore. We're ghosts. And they just walked into our forest. The relay loomed through the mist like a monolith, its black alloy surface streaked with dew. Turrets hovered in slow orbits, scanners sweeping through the clearing with mechanical precision. Nothing moved beneath them. Nothing visible. Drone scan confirms 12 hostiles in a tight security loop. Rotations every 11 minutes, Silva whispered, crouched behind a thick, vine-strangled root. His tablet projected faint thermal readouts. Power nodes buried in the northwest corner, 10 meters underground. Kael studied the diagram. Which side's weakest? Eastern approach. Less cover but half the patrol density. You'd have 4 minutes before a sweep hits that zone again. 4 minutes is a lifetime, Kael muttered. Plenty. Reyes adjusted the scope on her rail pistol. We ghost in, plant the charges, ghost out. Same as before. Kael's eyes stayed on the relay tower. No. Not the same. This isn't a patrol. This is a fortress. Ortiz snorted behind them, the sound muffled by his mask. You want a siege? I've got charges for a siege. No noise, Kael said sharply. The fleet stays out. If they triangulate a breach, they'll drop orbitals. And we'll be cooked, Reyes finished, tone dry. Kael nodded once. Exactly. This isn't about force. It's about making them think no one was ever here. They moved at dusk. Novo Gaia's twin suns sank below the treeline, casting fractured shadows across the jungle floor. As light faded, the Varnok patrols turned on helmet-mounted floodlights, brilliant, blinding beams that lit nothing but gave away everything. Kael's team advanced without sound. They used the terrain. Waded through shallow runoff channels. Climbed under twisted roots. Let the dark wrap around them. Their suits flickered occasionally as processors shifted to ambient match mode, blending color, movement, even scent. At the relay perimeter, Kael raised a clenched fist. Everyone stopped. A Varnok sentry paced nearby, long plasma rifle cradled across its chest. Its head jerked at a faint sound behind it. Just a bird. It turned back. It never saw Reyes slip behind it, knife sliding through vertebrae in one smooth, practiced motion. She caught the body before it hit the ground and dragged it into a tangle of ferns. One down, she murmured. Silva moved next, slipping past the turret's sweep window. He crouched beside the power junction, peeled back the ground plating, and got to work. Ortiz stood guard, railgun braced against a massive branch, barely breathing. His suit shimmered as wind rustled the leaves around him. Kael watched them all from the shadows, pulse steady. Then something shifted. A sound, too uniform. A call that didn't belong in the jungle. Sharp, clipped. Not an animal. He tapped his comm freeze. We've got company. From the trees, shapes moved. Varnok. Not a patrol, these ones were armored heavier, faces hidden behind tactical lenses. Their boots didn't stomp. They flowed. Commandos, Kael breathed. They're adapting. A warning buzzed across Silva's display. Motion, multiple heat sigs closing fast. They've got us flanked. Kael reacted instantly. Ortiz, smoke grid. Reyes, cut south. Silva, finish the load and fall back to Point Echo. Go! Ortiz triggered a burst, compressed vapor and heat dispersal charges fired silently into the air. A wave of synthetic fog rolled across the ridge, scattering thermal sensors. To the enemy, it would look like the whole forest had caught fire. Reyes vanished. Silva yanked his pack shut, cables still trailing, and ducked into a trench. Ortiz followed, covering the rear. Kael didn't move. He waited. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, crunched nearby. Through the shifting mist, he spotted the lead Varnok commando, helmet swiveling slowly. Kael crouched inches from him, unmoving. Cloak matched every detail of the moss and bark behind him. The Varnok raised his rifle. Kael struck. He lunged low, blade slicing behind the knee joint. As the Varnok stumbled, Kael's elbow cracked into its throat, collapsing the helmet's visor. One hand dragged the alien backward, silencing it with a sharp twist. He melted into the fog again before the others noticed. 20 minutes later, they regrouped in a narrow ravine carved by ancient water flow. Kael's suit was smeared with green-black blood. Silva looked pale but alive. You get the payload planted? Kael asked. Silva nodded. Charges set, timed for remote detonation. But they were waiting. They knew someone was coming. They didn't expect us to leave, Reyes said, catching her breath. They didn't expect us at all, Kael corrected. Ortiz leaned against the rock wall, cradling a cracked gauntlet. Took a round on the way out. Didn't go through, but I'll need a patch job. Kael checked the map. We've got a fallback site here, cave system 12 clicks west. We regroup, recover, and plan the final push. Silva raised a brow. Final push? Kael nodded. We hit the tower in 2 phases. What we did tonight. That's only the start. The virus you loaded won't activate until we trigger it. That buys us time. And what's the next step? Reyes asked. Kael looked into the dark. We become bait. In a bunker on the other side of the relay tower, Commander Zarlin reviewed the data logs. Multiple motion anomalies. Phantom heat signatures. Units unresponsive. He stared at the projection with growing irritation. A lesser officer stepped forward, uncertain. Commander, there is a pattern. They strike from cover. They take only the isolated. Their weapons make no sound. We cannot track them. Zarlin turned slowly. You mean they hunt? The officer flinched. Yes, sir. Zarlin's expression darkened. That is our tactic. That is our strength. And now it is used against us? He slammed a clawed fist onto the console. These humans, they refuse the battlefield. They hide behind tricks and shadows. There is no honor in this. Shall we increase aerial scans? Deploy flame drones? No, Zarlin growled. Let them come. I will not chase phantoms. I will lure them. Then, I will end them. Back in the cave, Kael patched Ortiz's armor under the low red glow of a silent lamp. They're adapting, Reyes said. Getting smarter. Kael didn't look up. So are we. He tightened a seal, checked the mag locks, and sat back. The relay goes down tomorrow. With it, their eyes in orbit. And Zarlin? Ortiz asked. Kael's gaze was steady. He's next. The jungle held its breath. Kael crouched at the edge of the ridge, eyes locked on the relay tower. The clearing below shimmered in the rising heat, but it wasn't sunlight warming the air, it was anticipation. The storm they'd started was about to break. "Silva, you're live?" Kael whispered. In position, came the hushed reply through the comms. "Virus links armed. One signal, and the relay goes blind." "Griggs?" A soft click confirmed the sniper was watching from a canopy perch a kilometer out, rifle zeroed on the upper platform. Kael exhaled. "This is it. Final run. Everyone knows their lanes. No deviation. Time to make some noise?" Reyes asked from the underbrush to his left. "No. Time to make ghosts scream." 3 hours earlier, Kael's team had moved through the caves in silence, checking weapons, charging suits, syncing comms. Every action was deliberate. No wasted words. Each of them knew what today meant. Ortiz had adjusted the heavy satchel across his back. "This'll punch a hole the size of a drop ship if I get close enough." "You won't need to," Kael had said, pulling the trigger cap from a palm-sized detonator. "We want them disoriented, not annihilated. Our window's tight, 10 minutes tops before orbital systems reset." Reyes had looked up from her harness. "And the commander?" Kael had glanced at the knife strapped across his chest. "Not ceremonial. Not tactical. Personal. He dies today." Now, the moment was here. Kael gave the signal. Silva's uplink flared green on Kael's wrist pad. The virus moved, slipping through the Varnok systems, rewriting access logs, blanking surveillance. The tower went dark. In the clearing, the automated turrets spun erratically, sensors blinded. Lights dimmed. Panic, at first subtle, then louder. Varnok voices barked through helmet comms, echoing off the metal walls. Patrols converged at the central hub, rifles raised, forming a ring. Exactly where Kael wanted them. Reyes was already inside. She'd slipped through the breach 10 minutes before activation, a shadow under a moving supply drone. Now she moved through corridors like smoke, planting microcharges at key nodes, no bigger than buttons, but enough to shake the foundation. Ortiz took the west flank, heavy repeater braced against a broken wall from last night's incursion. As Varnok squads poured into the clearing, he opened fire, not on them, but at the relay's support struts. Metal screamed. The tower shuddered. Inside, Reyes activated the final charge, diving behind a column as fire bloomed. The tower dropped to one knee. Commander Zarlin watched from the command platform above the clearing, jaw clenched. "Seal the exits," he roared. "They are here." The ground buckled below him as the relay's spine fractured. Alarms screamed, but none louder than the fear rising in his soldiers' eyes. Then Kael stepped out of the trees. No fanfare. No flash. Just a figure in a camo-slick suit, holding a weapon that hummed low and lethal. "Zarlin," Kael called out, voice amplified. "You wanted a battlefield. Here it is." The Varnok commander snarled. "You hide in shadows, and now you speak of battle? This isn't war." Kael started walking forward. "No. This is evolution." He tossed his rifle aside. Pulled the blade from his chest harness. No masks. No tech. Just two beings in a reckoning. Zarlin dropped from the platform like a stone, landing in a crouch. His armor shifted, plates locking into place. Twin blades slid from his forearms. "You will die here, human." Kael didn't answer. He charged. The impact was brutal. Steel met chitin. Kael ducked the first slash, drove his shoulder into Zarlin's gut, and sliced low. Sparks flew as his blade struck armor. The Varnok roared, swinging wide. Kael rolled, caught a backhand to the ribs, skidded through the dirt. He came up bleeding but smiling. "You're slow." Zarlin's eyes burned. "You're weak." They clashed again. Kael ducked, jabbed, twisted free. Zarlin drove him back with sheer force, each blow sending tremors through the ground. But Kael didn't need strength. He needed time. Reyes's voice buzzed in his ear. Charges planted. Exit tunnels cleared. Ortiz followed. You've got 90 seconds. Make it count. Kael spun under Zarlin's next strike and plunged his blade into the alien's knee joint. Metal cracked. The Varnok howled, staggered. Humans, Zarlin spat, falling to one side, are nothing but noise. Kael leaned close. That's the last sound you'll hear. He drove the blade into Zarlin's neck and twisted hard. The commander slumped, twitching once. Then still. Kael stood over the body as the sky above flickered. The charges went off in sequence. The tower collapsed inward, fire consuming its base as support beams failed. The jungle trembled under the impact. From orbit, the Terran fleet arrived, 15 ships in full formation, cloaked until the last second. With the relay blind, the Varnok defenses had no warning. Precision strikes cleared the upper atmosphere. Dropships pierced the clouds. Kael watched the sky from the ridge, helmet under one arm. Silva came up beside him. Command confirms touchdown in 20. Evac secured. Reyes joined them, bruised but grinning. So, you really went one-on-one with that beast? Kael shrugged. He insisted. Ortiz sat nearby, tending to his gauntlet. You going to tell command what we did? Kael looked out at the smoke rising from the jungle. No. Let them wonder. Let the Varnok tell stories of phantoms in the trees. He turned, slinging his gear over his shoulder. They weren't ready for us. They won't be next time either. As the dropships broke through the clouds, casting long shadows across the ruins, Kael and his team disappeared into the forest once more. Not soldiers. Ghosts.